Internet Studios World Headquarters in Spring, Texas, it's Barry on Deck, hosted by former ESPN Houston radio host and stand-up comedian Barry Laminack, starring Oliver the Cat. Written by Barry Laminack, produced by Barry Laminack, directed by, you guessed it, Barry Laminack, featuring sports, entertainment, special guests, film sessions, and some drinking. Okay, a lot of drinking. Viewer discretion is advised. And now, here's your host, Barry Laminack.
What's up, you damn dirty deckheads? Welcome to Barry on Deck. I am your host, Barry Laminack. Thank you guys for being here. Today is Tuesday. Yeah, January 27th, 2026. And this is episode number 1032 of Barry on Deck. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the program. Hey, hello, hi. How you doing? Hope you're good. Hey, listen. So, didn't do any shows last week. Didn't do a single show. Was battling some mental health issues. Just going through a slight depression. The world's gone crazy. It makes me sad. And then battling with some other issues. Then Nora was home yesterday. So it was just a whole thing. No internet for a couple days. It was a week. It's been a week. But we're back, and I have even better news than just being back. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Joining me once again on this little raggedy-ass show, my buddy, my pal, the one and only Joe Blake, everybody. Give it up for Joe! What's up, pimpin'?
What up, everybody? How we doing? Or, hey, how we doing? What up, H-Town?
What's up, homie? How you been?
I've been good, except for the last 20 minutes to an hour where I waited on someone that's a technical expert to work on some technical issues. But other than that, hey, I'm great, and I'm happy to be here, and look forward to chopping it up because I don't get to do it on a daily anymore.
Yeah, it is good to be here. Sorry, I had a last-minute phone call that I had to take, but it was good. It was short and sweet, and then like during the phone call, I was getting everything set up for the show. You know what I mean? And then my whole computer just blue screened. I was like, oh, that's good. That's good. So hopefully with all the shit that went down last week, hopefully we get through an entire show with no problems.
Do you think that there's any way that I can take this curse off of you? Because I mean, essentially, this all started happening once you tried to big time me and say that I was technically challenged and you were the guy that knew everything about computers and IT and all the technical side. And then ever since you ran off with that one, it seems like every single time it's you, not me. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're 1,000% right. This is, I mean, like, just to give you an example, this is why I don't talk shit in fantasy football. You know what I mean? Because you get rolling and you maybe, you're winning a few games and then you start feeling yourself. Then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, can't nobody beat me. And then you miss the playoffs. And that may have happened to me this year.
It also could have happened that someone kicked me in the ass and said, come on, bro. Like, is this really what you're doing here? Because I didn't start off well. And then I rattled off like 6 or 7 wins. And I was like, okay, whether I make the playoffs or not, kiss my ass. That's essentially what that was.
Well, look, you were getting your ass whooped. You weren't changing your teams. It was, listen, don't get mad at me. It was, I just wanted you to, put forth a little effort.
Well, I did a little bit more than that, but sometimes, as life happens and you lose sight of things.
It does. And you did a fantastical job getting your team back on track. So, much respect to you for. Would you finish?
I didn't make the playoffs, but I was close to 500. I'll take it.
Well, that's good, especially compared to how you started. Listen, man, we got a lot of shit going on. Oh, shut up, Potch. What's up to all the deckheads in the chat and Barry and the suspects? Joel, hold on. I got to fix this here. It's a small little thing you got to do every time to get this shit to work. But
Oh, I thought you were talking about going to the bathroom.
no, Potch said, oh, Barry has no room to talk about people being technically challenged. First of all, you raggedy bitch, let me tell you something, Potch. It's not that I'm technically challenged. I just have a lot of tech problems. It's not my fault. It's not. Do you think that I caused the blue screen on this fucking PC just sitting here on the phone trying to do? No, I did not. So
I
kiss
think
my
the
ass.
first step of narcissism and the last step of narcissism is continuing to believe it's not your fault.
What? Okay, I'm not a narcissist. Delusional? Sure, maybe. I'm a lot of things, but I'll tell you this. A narcissist thinks that they, have it going on. Sir, I do not think I have it going on in any way, shape, or form. So, yeah, I think it would be the opposite. Cisco said Joel's over here looking like Barry Potter. You know what?
Yeah, what's that supposed to mean?
You look like me and Harry Potter, I guess. I don't know what that means. Shut up, John. John Dorier said, you built a computer. Yeah, 5.5 years ago. Almost 6 now, you jackass.
Yeah,
I don't.
You see it so many times too. People just look to pounce.
Yeah.
It's crazy because even from a broadcasting perspective these days, now you can't just, I don't know if you saw this or not, but the other day, like the Chronicle made this big story of this, and they were wondering if an apology was necessary because the morning show, the meteorologist said to her good friend, the Samika Knight, the host, that her legs looked ashy, and then the camera showed them, and they thought that this was such a major disgrace and embarrassment that something needed to be done, and maybe Alita Loresca should be fired. It's like, what world are we living in where people are looking to make a big deal of something like that?
Yeah, it's hilarious. First of all, black people aren't the only people that can get ashy. All right, you just don't see it
true.
on white people. But Hispanics, anybody with any kind of darker skin is going to get ashy if they don't moisturize properly or use lotion or whatever. I mean, like, you can't really see it, but if I put my hand up there, let me see if I can find. No, you can't really see it. But
for those that can't see, that was another great statement from Barry Laminack. I can put my hand up there.
So I thought it was silly, and my wife watches them. What up, Lordy? My wife watches them every morning. That's her thing. She gets ready in the morning. That's what she puts on. She's watched them since I've known her, like 1998. She has watched that morning show, and I was like, yeah, a lot of people are like, what? That's not okay. She was like, they mess with each other all the time. They joke with each other.
Yeah.
They tease each other. It was like no big deal. I think sometimes people just need a reason to get mad, which I'm like, of all times, there's plenty of reasons to get upset. I don't know that two friends messing with each other is one of them. You know what I mean?
In the heat of us doing the suspects. If like we had a hot mic, but it was just about each other instead of doing cowardly things like making it about others. Like if we just said something to one another, giving each other shit, and then somebody was like, "Oh, can you believe that they said that to each other? That someone should be fired and there should be an apology." Well, first of all, it shouldn't have been out there anyway.
Oh.
And second of all, mind your damn business.
Yeah. Somebody said, I don't know how to spell her name. Samika.
I think it's Samika, Samika Knight, and it's Kni.
Oh, here we go. So this is the Instagram of it, and somebody put, "In what universe is this acceptable?" And it's like, I just think you're getting upset for no reason. Let's see. Let me see if I can find it here. Let's see.
Well, because a lot of people, again, they do it on social media too. They just look for you on social media. They're waiting to pounce. So if you're on radio, TV, whatever it is, you have to not only mind your P's and Q's, but you have to be out in front of it if you say something that could be remotely taken the wrong way to try and dispel it. Otherwise, people want your job.
Yep, 100%. And it's like, okay, there are some things and some reasons to get upset, but there's also a lot of reasons not to. Here it is. This was let's see here.
Oh, this could happen in the next hour, right?
Let me see if I could turn it up. I don't know if y'all can hear it very well.
It's technical issues.
Shut up. She said, do that, do that. What? I can't hear them. Shut up. Yeah, this isn't working, obviously. No, can hear. Okay. Why is this not working? I have no idea. But that was what they got upset about. Yep. Oh well. I tried to make it work. It's not working for some reason. Oh, let's see. Hold on. Oh, I think I found out why. Here we go.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
Still nothing?
Faint at best. I think we should move on. People got the gist of it.
Okay. Yep. Fuck it. Yeah, but people were like, they were losing their shit. And I don't know. There's so many other things to be mad about right now. I'm not sure that that's it, you know? But I
mean, Lisa's been through it before. We've been through it before. There's been times that, you deal with it, but you don't expect that, especially people that consistently listen to you, you don't expect that the first thing that they want to do is go on attack mode and try and bring you down when you're trying to bring them entertainment every day.
Yeah, it's silly. I think people just need a reason to be upset. I think that's what it boils down to. And, it'd be different if they weren't friends, right? Like when you and I mess with each other, could you imagine? Or Nick, or it was just one of those things where, when you're with somebody, when you do something like what they do, you know what I mean? Like you're there every day, you become like family and friends, and you get on each other's nerves, you love each other, you're going to mess with each other, and you're going to do it on there, you're going to do it off air. Good Lord, could you imagine the shit that you and I have said to each other on air, and Nick, and I don't know.
The interns, there was so much stuff going on at all times that, as long as you know the spirit of it, like, mind your business.
Yeah, that's it. Total Dallas can kiss my ass. Thank you for the $5 super chat. He's like, if Barry on Deck had a producer, I'd have called for that guy's job long ago. Shut up. By the way, thank you guys for the hype train. We hit a level 2 hype train, 8%. 3 subs, 241 bits. You guys are the shit. Cisco, thank you for the 169 I like bits. Potch put in 69 biddies. Thank you, buddy. Joe Pro with the 3. Big Stout resubscribing this Prime sub for 4 months now, big dog. Thank you very much. John Dorier resubscribed for 43 months. Holy shit. Thank you, buddy. Heartthrob resubscribed for 42 months. There you go. That is, God, that's a long time ago. It says the other one after that was Joe Pro 3 bits 12 days ago. It's been that long. That's crazy. That's too long to not.
That you did a show?
Yeah, that's what it says.
Well, you did it too.
It was that Thursday.
Me after 2 great shows. Yeah, I was gonna say, you were like, "Hey, let's do this again next week," right? Got me to commit to it, and then here we are. Next week became 2 weeks.
Shit happens. Man, dude, there's so much going on. Like, there's so many topics that we need to discuss. And I need to update these over there, those topics, and I will get those updated for y'all as we discuss. But there's so much going on. Where do you want to start, bro? There's so many things that we could go. NFL, college football, national championship, all the portal stuff going on. There's some NBA Rockets we could discuss. Night. I mean, what's on your mind?
You call it. I'm ready for just about it. The breaking news today was that the Bills finally have a head coach, and the Steelers introduced theirs, who got all emotional and doughy about the press conference. But I think the fact that we're still sitting here and there are NFL teams that don't have a head coach is interesting. But the fact that Joe Brady got a chance to coach the Bills, I think the first thought out of my mind, well, what they appeased Josh Allen. They said that they were going to involve him. The owner said he was going to be involved to some degree in the process. And you remember when the whole Deshaun Watson wanted to have a say so when the Texans were looking for one of their three coaches that they went through in a short period of time before they got to DeMeco. That was a huge deal. I mean, I think that Deshaun is different than Josh Allen. When you've got an MVP that is the prime reason why you've been on this run for as long as you had, it's in your best interest to appease him with at least a conversation. You don't have to listen to what he says, but at least appease him. And hiring the offensive coordinator lets you know they didn't just listen to what he had to say, they appeased him.
Well, here's the thing, though. If like one, I think that we saw several really good coaches get fired, right? And you have to wonder what the rationale and reasoning was behind each of those. I mean, you kind of understand in Cleveland when Stefanski got fired. I think you don't win Coach of the Year 2 out of 4 years, and then all of a sudden you forgot how to coach. Now, if you lose the locker room, if you do this, you do that. But the thing is, you know, you have injuries and bad decisions being made on personnel by the GM. So he became a victim of circumstance there. Same thing in Pittsburgh, bro. Mike Tomlin, all he does is win, 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 no matter what. And he was out. But he stepped down. He wasn't fired. But I think the writing was on the wall. They were going to move on. And then in Buffalo, it was surprising that Sean McDermott was let go when, in fact, really, I mean, that was all on Josh Allen. The Bills getting bounced in the playoffs that time around, that's 100% Josh Allen. He had a bad game, just a terrible game, and it got his coach fired.
I'm not going to put that on Josh Allen, though, Barry. I'm just going to say, I mean, look, if that Diggs catch ends up being a catch, and you realize that when he had the game on the line and the ball in his back pocket, he didn't fold. He moved them down the field. He was making plays. I think over the last 2 years, I completely agree with you that McDermott's a scapegoat, that he didn't deserve to get what he got, because just getting them as far as they went the last 8-9 years, whatever it was, is impressive. But the last 2 years, when you lose Von Miller, when you lose, you know, all these different guys, Diggs and Gabe Davis and all the guys that you let walk, and then you don't really replace them, and the wide receiver room was a legit thing on being the general manager that he didn't want to get into, and he still wanted to deflect and say, hey, this was the coaching staff that wanted Coleman. We didn't really want him, which can be debunked as well when you look at some of the film that came out of the Hard Knocks in season. They wanted Coleman. So there was a whole lot of finger pointing, and unfortunately all the fingers from the ownership were pointed at a head coach that I think didn't deserve it, because he did more with less in terms of the players in the last 2 years. And Allen won MVP and had a hell of a season. So without him, you're nowhere.
Right. And, you know, I mean, you mentioned Coleman, and they didn't do anything to give him any more weapons, right? I mean, whose fault is that? At the end of the day, personnel is on the GM. I don't give a shit that, you know, the coach had some say in it or he had who he wanted. At the end of the day, the players that formulate that roster, that's all on the GM. Unless your coach is also the GM or president of football operations like Belichick was or whatever, if you're just the head coach, you can have all the say you want, but at the end of the day, it's like a CEO, right? At the end of the day, the CEO is responsible for the company. I don't give a shit what management does. At the end of the day, the CEO is on the hook. And at the end of the day, that roster not having any viable pass-catching weapons for Josh Allen, that's on the GM. That's not a coaching thing. They took that team to overtime and lost because of a Josh Allen interception. I just don't know how you blame McDermott in any way in this.
An interception that was legitimately could have been a completion.
Yeah, exactly. And that's even crazier, because then in another game it was.
You and I, it's exactly right. In the very next game, the call went the exact opposite way. And it's like the league needs to get its shit together, because, I mean, you can't have it one way in one game and differently in another, and then a coach loses his job because of it. Because when you think about it and you look at the grand scheme of the entire situation, the general manager got promoted to president of football operations. So all that tells you is something that you and I've been through before, which is it depends on how much ass is kissed and in which corner. And if you're not aware of it, or you're in a better position than the guys that you're talking about, then it turns out being your ass that gets fired for something that essentially someone else should probably have paid for, but they strategically got ahead of it and did the strike before it was coming at them to save their own butt.
Yeah.
Because to have an owner who doesn't speak, literally in Buffalo, he never speaks. He comes out and not only speaks, he interrupts the question directed squarely at the general manager to own up to the fact that you never got receiver help for Josh Allen, and says, no, let me handle that for the general manager. Let me tell you how it went down. It was the coaches. Yeah, okay. What you're basically doing is CYA. Stop doing that, because you fired a coach that gave you one hell of a run.
Yep, you scapegoated him basically. And look, when you do it, it's like we used to say when we'd get criticized for stuff doing the suspects, or even now, like even in stand-up comedy, if I pose, people talk shit. When you become a head coach in the National Football League, you know what the deal is. You know, at some point, if you're winning and everything's going great, you're going to get way more credit than you deserve. And if you lose or you're losing, you're going to get way more blame than you deserve. Sure. And now, in most cases, some cases, guys are just inept and not good at their job. Maybe meant to be a coordinator instead of a head coach. But in the case of Sean McDermott, that just seems crazy to me. So maybe this is why some of these teams, I don't know who they're interviewing. Who's left, by the way? Who's left? Has Arizona
the Raiders,
named a head coach?
The Browns. No one wants the Brown job. Everybody keeps taking their name out of it.
You got a Pro Bowl quarterback.
Which is another farce. See Tyler Huntley for two of the least deserving quarterbacks in the history of football. No, it has nothing to do with race, people, before you already start. It has everything to do with if you play 8 games or less, you don't deserve to go to any Pro Bowl, period.
Yeah. And you go, I don't know what Shadur's record was in those games, but it was just is a Travis mockery. Hey, Richard Bulskins in. He said, what's good, Joe? Glad I can make it into the chats.
Thanks, Richard.
So
there's 13 quarterbacks that said no. That's why Shadur is quarterbacking there's quarterbacks that said no to the point where next on the list, check. He doesn't want to do it, check. Oh, Shadur, do you want to do it? Well, hell yeah, he does, because he loves the spotlight. And so he's going to take it. But you got the Browns, the Raiders. I would think the Raiders job is somewhat attractive, but the Browns job is just a cesspool. I don't think anybody wants it.
Yeah, the Browns job, that's the thing is all the jobs that are left, if you're a guy like Sean McDermott, do you want any of these jobs? I
believe he's taking the Titans OC job, with the only thing that could stop that being that he's still in the running for the Raiders job. So if he doesn't get the Raiders job, then he's going to be the OC. And that's a hell of a good move on Saleh's part, because we know Saleh's a defensive-minded head coach. And when he had to deal with all of the drama of Aaron Rodgers and everything that was going on, he was the first to take the hit, as we just talked about. Coaches normally get it instead of the GM, whether fair or not. So this time around, Saleh said, okay, screw this. I'm going to get a bona fide offensive experienced play caller to handle the offensive side of the ball.
So the Giants obviously hired John Harbaugh. The Ravens hired Jesse Minter. Falcons got Kevin Stefanski. Robert Saleh went to Tennessee. Joe Brady in Buffalo. And so that leaves, Jeff Hafley went to Miami. I don't know about
Arizona,
that.
Cleveland, and the Raiders. Oh, stop it. He's got head coaching experience, and he did a hell of a job with the Packers defense. So just mind your P's and Q's.
Mike McCarthy went to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that leaves the Raiders, the Browns, and the Cardinals left, right? Am I missing any? I think that's it.
No, that's right.
So
the Pittsburgh thing kind of surprised me.
Really a weird hire.
But did you see some of the drama on the side? You and I, the last time we were talking, I said, look, with the job Brian Flores has done the last couple of years, and regardless of the lawsuit, he should be getting some looks. And so Mike Pettin, who used to be the Packers defensive coordinator, was on the Vikings staff the last 2 years with Flores, and he was on some podcast in the last couple of days. And they said, hey, I guess the guy that was doing the podcast is a Browns fan. He said, look, I really think Flores is the guy for this job. you worked the last 2 years with Brian Flores. What can you say about him? And he went, um, I don't think that I'd like to say anything right here or right now about the entire situation if you want to know the truth. And it was like, ugh. He actually was on his staff defensively, and he went on to say a little bit like, and we didn't see eye to eye. So that this last year he asked to be moved to the offensive side of the ball. A defensive coach who used to be a DC asked to be moved to the offensive side of the ball because he didn't want to work with Brian Flores. That tells you Brian Flores probably hasn't shored up everything that was a problem in Miami.
That's crazy. Yeah,
Sure.
that's really crazy. I don't know. So, of the names that have been hired, who do you think had the best hire and the worst hire? I mentioned.
I mean,
them
you got to
again.
start with the fact that the Giants, after all their misses with Joe Judge just by name alone, but hiring a special teams coordinator is not going to be a great fit, especially in New York where everything's scrutinized. The fact that you get a guy like Harbaugh gives you instant credibility, and he's going to bring in a staff that's going to help Jackson Dart. It's going to help a defense got a lot of young talent, and probably instantaneously make them better internally, regardless of what you see on the field starting next season. I think they're heading in the right direction. I think there's a lot of pressure on Jesse Minter and a lot of pressure on Brady with the Bills because those teams are ready to win now, and those guys in their first go round as head coaches, we've seen how that can go. If you're not ready for it and you don't have enough support, on the fringes of like everything from time management and game management and throwing the red flag, you can screw yourself, and they're not going to be tolerant because the coaches that they're replacing did well.
Yeah, I tell you, Stefanski in Atlanta, he might get some shit done there. That might have been to me the second best hire. I think that, and you know what? I mean, I really like Tennessee's hire with Robert Saleh. I think those three, like you said, Harbaugh to New York, Stefanski to Atlanta, and Saleh to Tennessee. I think those would be my top three right now, leaders in the clubhouse as far as
I think
good gets.
You're right on Atlanta simply because where was Kevin Stefanski at his best to get him a head coaching job? Minnesota. Who was his quarterback? Kirk Cousins. Who's on his roster that did well at the end of the year? Kirk Cousins. What do you know? And he's got a bunch of weapons. I think you're right. I think Stefanski could do really well in Atlanta. I think if you're Amy Adams' skunk or strunk, as the case may be, and you're the owner of the Tennessee Titans, you better hope you got it right with Saleh, because looking at your ex-coach, who everybody said you shouldn't have gotten rid of, but you kicked to the curb, not only did he get up from the curb, but he got into a Bentley and drove it to the Super Bowl to basically give you the middle finger. You look like absolute shit, Aim, and you stink like a skunk. You better hope you got it right, because the best thing you did in this whole cycle was make the announcement you're taking yourself out of the day-to-day decisions on football because you never should have been there in the first place.
Yep, 100%. You know that everybody in Tennessee has. I mean, Titan Hugo's here. He's a Tennessee fan. If you're a Titans fan, you have to be like, that was our guy. Like, what the fuck happened? What did they do to run him off? And he was nothing but a good coach when he was there. I thought. And to take a team that was 4-13 last year to the Super Bowl. Come on, man. Like, that's next level shit. So there's going to be that occur again next year. You're going to see a team like the Falcons or the Giants that just get turned on a dime, and all of a sudden now they're really good. And it's like, well, maybe these guys actually do know what they're doing. Yeah, you see it all the time. I mean, some guys get fired as a head coach and they deserve it and don't go on and do other good things, but some of these cats do. I think the most interesting one, though, is McCarthy to the Steelers. To me, it doesn't seem like a fit. It's not what they do. It's not what they've ever done. He doesn't look menacing. He's not a great
but Bear, think about this.
Coach.
He's a Pittsburgh guy, and they don't hire many coaches. And so he got emotional crying just at being announced because it's his dream job, and said now his family can actually wear all the Steeler gear that they've worn their whole life. And it's like, as an owner, if you're the Rooneys, we got one of our own, at least from that. And then here's the other thing. It's the last-ditch effort to give Aaron one more crack in the door to say, if you do want to come back, because if you would have hired anybody else, and you know it as well as I do, regardless if they're willing to admit it or not, any young coordinator coming in that's going to take that job, or any young guy is not going to let Aaron Rodgers walk over them, so they don't want any part of him. The only chance that they have of bringing Rodgers back was getting a guy that he at least would consider working with again. That's McCarthy.
Yeah, that's true. One other note, Donna mentioned it in the chat.
Was Donna in the chat?
But Donna's in the chat. Chargers
Hi, Donna.
hiring Josh McDaniel as their OC. I like it. I think
Mike McDaniel.
What'd I say? Oh, Josh McDaniel. Yeah. Mike McDaniel. Sorry. But I'm looking at the headline, literally ESPN, it says Josh McDaniel.
That's on ESPN.
That's what I
guy's
get for
the offensive
reading.
coordinator for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know. But look, I'm not bullshitting you. I'm just reading. I'm like, what's his name? Anchorman.
Ron Burgundy.
I just read what's on the teleprompter. Look at that. Chargers OC Josh McDaniel. Geek to work with Justin Herbert. I'm surprised they didn't put Justin Hebert or some shit.
Looks like he just got off a drug deal, Mike McDaniel.
I know. He's a pimp, though. He's a pimp. Let's be real.
He drives a Bentley. I kid you not. He drives a Bentley.
Does he really?
Yeah, they did a story on it that he pulls up in it. He used to in Miami. He was rolling up in his Bentley every day.
That doesn't surprise me. He's eccentric to say the least, but he's obviously geeked to work with Justin Herbert. Look, there's been some really good. I think there's been better maybe coordinator hires recently than head coaching hires, at least a few. McDaniel, like you mentioned, who was Salah's hire. So I think there's been some interesting hires, some good hires. I mean, obviously we all have to see how it plays out, but I am just going to be stunned if McDermott and or Tomlin don't have a job come next season. That's going to, but where do any of those guys want the 3 remaining jobs, Arizona, Cleveland, or Las Vegas? Probably not.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of times too, for your own longevity, you have to think about it. Like Salah, that was a dicey move because he already failed once. So the next go round might be his last one. You got to make sure you get it right. That's why I think hiring a guy like Dable as his OC, who has head coaching experience, helps before you go any further down the road so that you can kind of buffer yourself. Because we talk about it. It's a lot of politics, no matter what you do or don't do, where you can deflect the blame. And we've seen it in our business over and over again, where you can deflect the blame and be friends with the right people, and you get saved and others don't. And I think that that's where a lot of these coaching jobs are like, that's why they're all pulling out of Cleveland going, yeah, if I'm going to have another go round and a chance to like be a head coach for a long time, that ain't it. Because I got to deal with Shedeur and Deshaun's situation, which the owner has put all of this on you before you even coach a game. That's too much for a lot of guys.
And the crazy thing to me is like, if I'm and again, I don't know, you didn't seem so impressed with the Robert Saleh hire, but I thought he did a pretty damn good job with the Jets, all things considered, right? I mean, when you go out and get Aaron Rodgers and then he gets injured and doesn't play, but the problem was never the defense. The problem was lack of talent on offense, and you're seeing it now. Look how good they are now with the Aaron Glenn as opposed to Robert Saleh. And it was
right. I like Robert Saleh. He got sold a really bad, again, another owner or general manager that gives you a raw deal and a bad bill of goods because they force Rodgers on you. And then he becomes the scapegoat that gets out. I'm just saying, because he did a hell of a job with the Niners defense when you lose Bosa and you lose, all these guys that were Fred Warner and all the guys on defense, and you still got your defense to tread water so that your offense could do what they did and go deep in the playoffs. He did a hell of a job. I'm just saying, if that was the only job he was offered, I get it. You want to be a head coach again. But if he was a finalist with the Raiders the last time, wouldn't you rather be in Vegas, at least from the standpoint of knowing the Davis family normally goes out of their way to try and give you money and players, and Brady's involved in the process, and you don't have to deal with the shit show that is Cleveland or Tennessee in this case with Amy Adams skunk and everything they got going on or don't have going on there?
Yeah. He I don't know what the interview was like or if he did or any of that, but I think the concern in Vegas might be Brady. Tom Brady meddling, getting in the business, thinking he knows better than everybody else. And he very well might, but that might be the concern as a head coach. You're like, yeah, I don't want to have to deal with Brady.
But if Brady's on board with it and Brady's the guy that says, yeah, go get him, then I think you feel like, okay, I can feel secure knowing Tom Brady's on my side. Maybe Brady's the guy that said we're not going to go the way we went last time. I know he was a finalist, but maybe Brady's got another guy in mind. But if that was the case and Brady had all that stroke, don't you think they'd have hired somebody by now?
I would think so. There's really
all
good.
the best candidates are gone. Like to your point, Tomlin's under contract for another year with the Steelers at minimum. So you have to trade to get Mike Tomlin. So he's going to do TV probably and probably get real comfy doing it. And the last Steelers coach that did that was Coward, and he never left. So you just don't know what you don't know. But I think Tomlin, because I thought if Tomlin wasn't under contract with the Steelers, the Buffalo job was perfect for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have thought so too. So I guess I didn't think about that. So since he resigned and wasn't fired, he can't really go anywhere without a trade. That makes a ton of sense.
He and Harbaugh were both in that situation, and the owner, Biscotti, talked about it in Baltimore, but said he was willing to pay him to sit a year if he wanted to, but he knew he didn't want to, and then he took the Giant job. But from Tomlin's perspective, I think he probably is worn out and needs to recharge the batteries for a year.
Yeah. By the way, some news. Heartthrob posted this in the chat as well. Walt compared Robert Saleh to Wade Phillips. Ooh, I don't know about that. He said great coordinator, but struggles as a head coach like Wade Phillips did.
There are a lot of guys like that. There are a lot of guys that are better coordinators than they are head coaches. And they're great coordinators. You just don't know. But like to your point, I don't think that Saleh was given enough leeway to either hang himself or succeed regardless.
Well, and he's just with a shitty organization. You know, who's winning in New York without, you got to find your Drake May. You got to find your stud quarterback. And they just have not had that there, even with an aging Aaron Rodgers. Joe Pro said hiring coordinators with head coaching experience is always a good move by owners, put pressure on the existing head coach. Problem is usually the head coach is the one that makes that decision, not the owners. Usually it's your head coaches that are picking their coordinators and their staff. And, so really when you see a hire like that, when you see Brian Daboll become an offensive coordinator somewhere, props to those guys, those head coaches that make that decision, because that's dangerous. You know what I mean? Because then ownership looks at it and says, right. Well, we've got a built-in head coach if this one doesn't work out. And it's like, well,
short of Daryl Morey, who tried to buck the trend and tell his head coach who his assistants were going to be. Yeah. There's no head coach in their right mind, for every reason that we just talked about with all the political BS that goes on behind the scenes, that you wouldn't hire your entire staff and the support staff for that matter, not just the coaches, because otherwise it could be the difference between having or not having a job.
That's right. If I'm going down, it's going to be my fault. You know what I mean? Let's see. Norv Turner's a good one. Josh McDaniel, another one. That's great coordinators, just not good head coaches.
Think about everybody under the Belichick tree for the most part from that heyday, because you had Charlie Weiss and Romeo Crennel, and both of them were really good coordinators and couldn't do it. McDaniel and who's his defensive coordinator? They got fired by the Lions, Patricia, and then Patricia goes to Ohio State and does one hell of a job as a coordinator there. Like, you can just sit there and go 4 different guys under the Belichick tree at New England, all great coordinators, suck as head coaches.
I want to say that Bill O'Brien is the only coach from the Belichick tree that has a winning record as a head coach. I
think that might be right.
As a head coach.
You're probably right.
We looked this up once a long time ago on The Suspects, I believe, but I'm pretty sure that was right. Speaking of Bill Belichick, according to ESPN, sources are saying he will not be a first ballot Hall of Famer. So he's going to have to wait. You shocked by that?
Yeah, I don't understand that at all. Look, you can have the discussion between the greatest coaches of all time, and there's the Lombardis and the Shulas and the guys that have the most wins versus the guys that had the legacy. Most people look at Bill Belichick from our lifetime and say that's the greatest NFL head coach that we've ever seen. I don't think that guy has done anything short of dating a 24-year-old, which we're not mad at him for, just that we're mad that he let her have so much power. But like, if that's the only blip on your resume, I'm pretty sure he should be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
100%. I was looking at the article, 6 Super Bowl. This was a quote from Belichick. 6 Super Bowls isn't enough. He asked an associate, referring to the championships. He won 2 more as a DC with the Giants. So the dude, as a head coach or a defensive coordinator, has 8 Super Bowls. 8.
Isn't he second all time in wins in coaching history in the NFL? I mean, everything there does not scream anything short of whether he's unanimous or not in his first ballot.
And he told somebody else it's politics. And yeah, duh. It's got to be politics. I'm sure there are some voters, I might be one of them, that credits Brady more than Belichick, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the dude was the head coach of 6. And it's not easy. I don't give a fuck who your quarterback is. It is not easy to win a Super Bowl, much less 6 of them. And like you said, second winningest coach, and come on, man. That's I get the politics. This isn't, and I don't know, maybe it is Deflategate, and then the camera stealing signs and plays, and maybe that had factored into it. I don't know. End of the day, though, that dude's a winner.
That's the thing, and all the different things that they did, the attention to detail. And I know that the players, look, and I got my own stories that I've told you and I've told on the air before about how the players as a whole kind of just sweep that under the rug because any kind of stain on the shield takes money out of their pocket too. But at the end of the day, the consistent winning, and like you said, the two with Parcells, and then he goes right into this situation. They were all part of it. They're all first ballot Hall of Famer. Tom Brady's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Bill Belichick's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Robert Kraft, by the way, that whole thing too. He bought the team 32 years ago. In 32 years of owning the team, his team has gone to 11 Super Bowls. That's a 344 chance or winning Super Bowl percentage. Like, he's hitting better than Ted Williams.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's another one where whether you like him or not, and he likes his massages more than Deshaun or not, he's going into the Hall of Fame too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. And let's see, it says this year Belichick was a finalist with Robert Kraft, his fellow co-architect of NFL Dynasty. Marked the first time that Kraft was a Hall of Fame finalist after 14 years of campaigning on his behalf by his longtime PR man. It's unknown whether Kraft or any other finalists received the necessary votes for induction. But apparently Belichick found out. Somebody must have told him, like, hey, you're not going to make it. So it'll be really shocking if Kraft gets in and Belichick doesn't. Then that's gonna let you know, like, some of that stuff had some of that off the field or cheating or whatever, Spygate, Deflategate, all the gates probably had something to do with it.
Well, what about baby oil gate? I mean, it wasn't like Kraft was
doesn't have any effect on the field.
He's going to the local massage parlor before he's going to playoff games. I mean, everybody's got their skeletons in the closet. The fact of the matter is, overall, you can't argue with the results of all the wins and the Super Bowls, and they all deserve to be in for that. As much as y'all hate them, it's true.
Now, I will say, and I said it at the time, I don't think Belichick, to me, doesn't go down as the greatest head coach of all time. I don't believe that. When you look at his record without Tom Brady, it ain't good. I think Tom Brady, this is why I think most people think Tom Brady is the GOAT and literally, legitimately the greatest football player, NFL football player of all time. And, there can be discussions for others, but Brady left and went and won another Super Bowl. Belichick never, ever got close without Brady. And you look at his time in Cleveland, it wasn't great. So,
but he does again. But then you could say on the flip side, he can do everything as a coach, but you got to have the players. And he didn't have a quarterback because the one you just mentioned was the greatest of all time, went away, and they didn't replace him. And now when they did, look what happens. with a guy that was a Belichick guy in Vrabel. So I think that's the fine line. Is Brady controlled the ball on every play. Belichick can set the table for you, but it's up to the players to eat.
Yep. Well, it's gonna be interesting if he gets in next season, or if those same reasons, whatever they be, that held him out, rear their ugly head again. All right, we got about 25 minutes left in the show. Let's discuss. Let's talk a little bit about the games that took place this past weekend that we missed, with the ugly 10-7. What do they call it? The Snow Globe Bowl or some shit like that. But Patriots end up getting by the Broncos. I guess my first question to you is, if the Broncos have Bo Nix, are they beating the Patriots?
Oh, I think so. I really do. I mean, that home field is something. I think that just what you saw Stidham do early shows you that Denver was a really complete team on both sides of the ball. But just like we just got done talking about, you still got to have the most important position on the field covered, and Stidham wasn't it. And all it took was that one hiccup, that one play, that, especially with how low a scoring game it was, it changed the complexion of the entire outcome. And I don't think Bo Nix does that. And I think Bo Nix is athletic, that he runs. I think Bo Nix can make every throw. I think that we all would have loved to seen 1 versus 2 at full strength, or as close as you can to it, and let the best team win. I just felt like the minute I saw that Nix was out for the year, that the Broncos weren't going to win that football game. It's unfortunate that it's because of their backup quarterback that they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the throw he made, 1, you're throwing at Christian Gonzalez. 2, you're throwing into double coverage, and 3, you underthrew the ball. You had to make a throw. You had to, but boy, you feel like that was a backup quarterback mistake, right? I mean, if you're going to do that, you got to put it on his outside shoulder, at the sidelines where only he can catch it, all those things that we hear all the time, and he did none of those things. And that's what backup quarterbacks do. That's the difference between being a backup quarterback in the NFL and a superstar like Bo Nix is becoming. Not yet, but becoming.
Well, and just as you mentioned, it's just like coordinators versus head coaches. There are guys that are outstanding backup quarterbacks that in the middle of the season, like Davis Mills, can win you 3 football games. Or back in the day, how Chase Daniels, when Drew Brees would go down, could win you 5 football games in the middle of the regular season. But it's a tough ask no matter what to say, hey, go win me the AFC Championship game, and your first game started in a couple years. But at the same time, the reality is, if you know the system and everybody believes in you the way you hear that they do, you know your one job is, don't make me be the reason why we lost the game. And he did. And he admitted it. He owned it after the game. But he knew the interception you talked about and the throw that I talk about were the reasons why they lost that football game.
Yeah, he was 17 of 31, 133 yards, touchdown, interception. I mean, Drake May didn't do much, but they didn't have to. You know, he was 10 of 21 for 86 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked 5 times. Stidham was sacked 3 times. But you knew that the weather was going to be a factor, and you knew that, you know, New England could run the ball. I didn't think they'd be able to run the ball like they did against the Broncos, even with, you know, the slow track and everything else, the snow. But to put up 141 yards rushing against that defense, the Broncos defense, it says a lot just about New England and their ability to run the ball and not needing Drake May to be a hero every single game. So
here's the thing that bothers me the most about that whole game. I want to hear what you have to say about it. But I understand that the decision that Peyton made to go for it versus take the points, I totally understand it. And now, if you, depending on who you talk to, some people said they even were with him, watching the game with him between the Bears and the Rams, and he kept screaming at the TV, "I don't care what the analytics say, take the points," and then he didn't do it. But what I don't understand, and I really want to know how much you think is expected of a team in their prep work, for the people that are putting pressure on the Broncos, going, you knew the storm was coming, you knew that by the middle of the third quarter it was going to be a blizzard, and then you didn't do what you didn't do. How much of that is on your shoulders to say, not only did we check the weather report, because we know how many times weather reports can be wrong, but suddenly you're supposed to be able to pinpoint, you know, by the end of the third quarter, it's going to be a whiteout where you're not even going to be able to see in front of your face. So that's why you know. And analytics and coaches' decision, I get, don't tell me that it should have been on the Broncos coaching staff to say, we're projecting that it's going to be a blizzard by the third quarter.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you have to take that into account, but more than anything, you have to know that you're facing one of the best defenses in football, and you may not get many chances to put points on the board regardless of the weather. And when you factor in that and the potential for bad weather in the second half, I think you certainly in the playoffs in the AFC Championship game, you have a backup quarterback and you throw the ball. You don't even run the ball. You put it in the hands of a backup quarterback. I just think if you're not going to run the ball, you take the points.
I'm just saying that's fine. I agree with that. That's a coach's decision and that's where it should end. But to say that it's irresponsible because they should have known when the storm was hitting and that should have gone into the thought process of kicking the field goal. No, it's 4th and 1 in a very short situation where you could go double-digit lead, 10-0 early, and really not only just set a tone, but kind of possibly put yourself in the driver's seat for the rest of the game, as opposed to saying, no, they should have known when that storm was hitting and realize, no, I think that's going too far.
Yeah, Jeff Bell, who is our resident Bronco fan, said, yeah, you have a backup, take the points. And then Total Dallas said, you go for it on 4th if the other team is scoring touchdowns. If it's a low-scoring game, kick the field goal. And I agree with him. New England won because of their white jerseys, according to Romo.
That was kind of ridiculous. If you didn't hear that, he made multiple mentions of the fact that it was a huge advantage that the New England players could see the Broncos because they were wearing orange, and that the Broncos were struggling to see because the Patriots were in white jerseys. That to me is such a farce, but that's who Tony Romo's become in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean, look, both teams had multiple missed field goals. So you can't really say, oh, well, if they just make those, no, I mean, you have multiple missed field goals on both sides. So those negate each other. What it comes down to is a 4th down that you probably take the points and at least you're taking your chances in overtime. And there's no guarantee that you still win the game if you kick a field goal there, because if you give them those 3 points, now it goes to overtime. And it's Drake May versus Stidham, and I'll take my chances with Drake May in that. So you can't guarantee a win, but you want to give yourself that.
But again, this is more to the Dan Campbell kind of thinking of a year ago when Dan Campbell just kept going for it until he ended up realizing after the fact that going for it in certain situations kind of turned the tables on him and set him up for failure as opposed to being in the driver's seat. And that's what you're looking at with Sean Payton. You blame nobody other than the head coach whose decision it is that could have given your team a 10-0 lead when you have a backup quarterback. Yeah. End of story.
Yeah, 100%. The other game that went down was much more fun to watch, in my opinion. But that Seahawks-Rams game, that was some really good football. And you felt like, I mean, either one of those teams getting the win and going on to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, they both deserved it, I guess you could say. I didn't think that it was one of those where it's like, they got luckier. I mean, those were 2 really good football teams. It was just a fun game to watch, and props to Sam Darnold for putting on his big boy pants and doing what he couldn't do last year in Minnesota.
I mean, that's the story, right? I think the other story is when you look at it, John Schneider, who came from Green Bay, who's been their general manager, when you look at what he did offseason till now, and you want to talk about a guy that made a difference in that game, you get Shaheed from the Saints mid-season when the Saints were going nowhere. And not only the last playoff game does he start it with one of them with a return for a touchdown, but then he was a dominant factor early in the pass game, and he was a weapon that they completely had to respect in the kicking game. But then he traded away DK Metcalf, and everybody's like, oh, you let Tyler Lockett go and you got rid of DK Metcalf. You got rid of the 2 starting receivers from our potential next heyday. Well, what did they do? They turned around and they got Cooper Kupp and they drafted JSN. And suddenly you got better. And then you had Geno Smith, and everybody said, oh, you got to keep Geno. He's a franchise quarterback. And he said, to hell with that. You hear Raiders, give me something for him. I believe I see something that Minnesota obviously didn't, and get Sam Darnold. And now, if you want to look at when we talk about GMs that actually deserve the credit, that earned this whole trip to the Super Bowl, without him, they do nothing. I mean, that was a massive turnaround.
Yeah, big time. And props to the GM, like you said, for making those moves, and because that was, to me, it was risky. If it doesn't, if they don't make the Super Bowl, then you're like, were these the best decisions? If Sam Darnold shits the bed again in the playoffs, it's like, well, you knew he was going to do that. So, I mean, in a lot of ways, I was happy for Sam Darnold because of, man, he had almost came all the way back to being a superstar last year in Minnesota, falling short in the playoffs. And it was like, oh, that's the Sam we know. So for him to rebound and get to the Super Bowl with a new team the next year, man, that's got to feel good and redemptive.
And to play his ass off, right? I mean, he just absolutely was stellar all game. No turnovers, as we talked about in the last game. Didn't turn it over. Wasn't the reason why they lost. Clearly was one of the reasons why they won. And then from the Rams' perspective, I thought the entire game and momentum and everything was switching. The minute they got to stop in the second half and they put points on the board, and you're like, look out now. And then they stop them again. And then the punt, that guy that Smith or whoever it was that fell on his ass and cost them the ball, that literally probably cost them the game. That's one of those situations that I've been through kind of on, and I think I talked to you about it, knowing people in the Packers building. Remember the year of the NFC Championship game, Green Bay goes to Seattle, winning the whole game. All they got to do is recover an onside kick. And the tight end decides to, instead of blocking so that the receiver can catch it, he wants to be the hero that catches it. He fumbles it. Seattle gets it. They lose in overtime. That kid that did that for the Rams can never step foot in the home locker room of the Rams again if they want to win. Because there's going to be veterans and guys pointing fingers going, that might have been my only chance to make a Super Bowl. Davante Adams, I had one chance to make the Super Bowl at the end of my career, and I'm not going because of you. Yeah. There's no way they can see that kid again.
Xavier Smith, right?
Yep.
Is that who it was? Xavier Smith?
Smith. He may play in the league again, but anybody with the Rams from McVay on up has to be smart enough to realize he can. I had executives in the Packers front office that said, great guy, we wish him the best. There's no way that starting camp next year, I can have that guy walk into my locker room and the first memory the veterans have is, oh, we're starting a new year, but the old year ended because of you? There's no way.
And this is only his second season, so you're right, though. He's probably gone from there. And I didn't even think about it, but you're right, man. The fact that Davante Adams may never get another chance now.
He's been to, I think, 5 or 6 NFC Championship games and has never been to a Super Bowl. You want to talk about a guy legit that could be mad at Smith? That's him.
Yeah, 100%. And I ain't gonna lie, I didn't really have like a rooting interest, but I was kind of rooting for Matthew Stafford. I thought it was a really cool story too, for them to kind of come back. And, we had seen Goff and do his thing after the trade, and now, Stafford having a chance to get back to another Super Bowl after the trade. It was kind of cool, but I think that in both cases with both quarterbacks, you felt good for them, regardless of who it was that was going to be representing the NFC.
Well, but think about it, Barry. You're right, but take it a step further. What's the debate about MVP? Well, it's not going to be the one. The decision's already been made who's going to win it.
Yeah.
But if you wanted the Super Bowl to kind of equate to the season, the two leading candidates for MVP could have been staring each other in the face, mano a mano, to say, may the best guy and the best team win. And that would have added a whole lot of fuel to the fire from a fan perspective of, hey, this is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's cool now, though, is there's going to be a lot of players that didn't get, because that's the thing. When you play on the West Coast, you're not going to get the same amount of love and exposure that teams on the East Coast or even here in the Central Time Zone and stuff get. So you were going to get either, not a coming out party per se, but in a lot of ways, and nationally and to the casual fans, Puka Nacua or Jackson Smith and Jigba, both of them had an opportunity to kind of, put themselves, elevate their status even higher by being seen by everybody that watches the Super Bowl. So cool for both of those cats, but the crazy thing is this. I don't know how old Matthew Stafford is now. What is he? Let's see. He's
like 37.
37. I get it. He played at a really high level. Like you said, MVP level. Can he do it again? I mean, was this his best shot at one more Super Bowl?
It might have been, right? But I think that they're really talented. You touched on it. I mean, if Devontae comes back and he didn't play, he led the league in touchdowns, I think. I mean, but he didn't do anything to disappoint you. Puka's phenomenal. The running game's got two, maybe not big names, but Corum and those guys run the football well. The line's good. The defense is good. It's going to be up to him. Like, if you're McVay, you wisely said, well, that's a hell of a question to ask me, but I certainly hope he wants to because we want him back. You don't know what he went through because he had that whole back issue. They had the cryogenics chambers and everything in the parking lot for him in training camp. No one knew if he was going to play week 1 against the Texans. Thought the back could be an issue. We don't know how difficult it was for him week in and week out to prepare, but just on the way he played, it's totally up to him. And if he wants to come back, he should. He deserves it, and he earned it.
100%. Totally agree. Walt said everything this season has worked out for the Pats. I'm nervous Sam Darnold and Jackson Smith and Jigba will get in a car crash on the way to the Super Bowl. Ain't that the truth? I mean, look, they earned the win against the Texans. There was no luck, but you wonder. No Nico Collins, who was the other big name? I mean, obviously no Joe Mixon all year, but you just wonder if the Texans at full strength, would they have beat that team? Probably not if C.J. Stroud
not with C.J. Stroud at quarterback, right?
Yeah.
But I think
this is going to be fun. I mean, you've got the two. Do you agree with this statement? You have the two best teams in football playing each other in the Super Bowl this year.
As currently constructed right now due to injury, yes. If Denver, as the 1 seed, doesn't lose their quarterback, then the argument could be made that you would ideally, if you go by that statement, should be Denver and Seattle. But with Nick's out, then I think you got the best case scenario for teams earned it for the year, right? So I think that's fair. But I think the same way to Walt's point, you look at the Bears, you look at all those last-second wins, all the fluky throws that he made that were caught every time. Next year, I said this to a lot of my Bears fans, hey, congratulations to you. Can't take it away from you. But if you say just run the odds and the chances and say next season they get those 7 chances again, they might get 1 or 2 at best.
And it's a great point.
Sometimes it has to line up for you.
It's a great point. And a good analogy to that would be, look at C.J. Stroud's rookie season. Everyone was so impressed with how few interceptions he threw, but they don't realize how many were dropped. I mean, he was probably going to throw at minimum 12, maybe 15 or more. But so many were dropped that it looked better than it was. And just one note real quick. I don't disagree with you that a healthy Denver with Bo Nix is probably the better of the two. I shouldn't say I don't disagree. I think it's a perfect take, but New England was a plus 170 for the season. They both had an identical record. Both of them 14.
Yeah, from a season perspective, it's a Cinderella story for the Pats.
But New England to be a plus 170, Denver a plus 90. New England undefeated on the road at 8-0. I mean, that's hard to do in the NFL, to go 8-0 on the road. No other team did that.
Right.
So
that's why they were doing the Warriors come out to play, because no matter where they played on the road, and you and I get that reference because we're old enough to remember the movie. But I mean, you're right. 9-0 on the road's unbelievable, but that's still, they didn't have the best record in the conference, which means as good as they were, there was one team
they had
better.
the same,
if that team was healthy.
I mean, they were both 14-3. I mean, the Broncos were the number 1 seed. I don't want to be that guy because of tiebreaker. You can look at the schedule and what a lot of people are pointing at, but overall, I mean, either team would have been a very worthy representative. Yeah. Just by the seeds, if they're healthy, and at home, I think Denver would be who I think is the best team in the AFC. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with it.
5 seconds later, you'll tell me you disagree.
Last thing before we go, because I disagree with you. No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you. Yep.
Okay, this is going to be like a weird kind of multi-part question. Will CJ Stroud be the quarterback of the Texans next year? And will CJ Stroud be the quarterback of the Texans on a extension or new contract?
Yes and no. Yes, he's going to be the quarterback. Look, he's going to be the quarterback next year.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt about it. And people that wanted him traded, it's not that simple. And also, they're not that stupid. And the fact is that this is the year that he's eligible for the extension of the next 2 off seasons. You don't give it to him now because you don't have to, and because you got to figure out who he is. And then what you do in the meantime is this is the most important offseason in Nick Caserio's career as a Texans general manager, no matter what he's done previously, because now you want to take all excuses off the table and you want to make it all on him. So that means shore up the offensive line once and for all. That means figure out who your running back or running backs are and put them out there. And then there's no excuse for David Mulgeta and CJ Stroud other than him. He's got to perform. He's got to win. He's got to make throws. And he can't say, oh, I was running scared. And, oh, the offensive line. And, oh, I didn't have a running game. And, oh, the offensive coordinator. No, you keep everything that you want to keep offensively from if you want to keep the coordinator, because they're going to use it as an excuse if you replace Caley and say, well, you gave me 3 coordinators in 3 years, and everybody will tell you, look at Sam Darnold. It doesn't work that way for the quarterback. Okay, keep Caley in place, fix the running game no matter how, if it's Mixon or whoever it is, shore up the offensive line and say, next offseason, I will have a serious conversation with you where we will entertain whether we give you an extension or not. And it's all going to be predicated on wipe out last year for you, wipe out the first year for us, and say, okay, we've each got one in our corner in terms of seasons. Now you go out in your season 3 with no excuses, and either you put up or you shut up.
Man, I would have rather seen them go after one of these fired head coaches that were great offensive coordinators. A perfect example of that, and somebody that he would have been very familiar with, was Mike McDaniel. If D'Amico Ryans was, wanting to put because you don't need a coordinator, right? A defensive coordinator. You're good there. But man, if they wanted to spend the money and go out and get a guy like Mike McDaniel to come in and be the new OC for this team, it might have been a rental wonder, but at least you would get to see. So I don't disagree with you in the fact that 3 coordinators in 3 years, but when you have a chance to get that good of a guy that is that good offensively as a coordinator,
You're right. I'm just speaking in the present tense of right here, right now, with what we already know, who's been hired, where they've landed, what's going on, and how bad CJ was. I want no excuses. I don't want to hear any kind of liabilities that he can fall back on going, you didn't give me a line. I didn't have my running back. This guy got hurt. I want it all left off the table, so it has to be on him.
Yep. I don't, like I said, I don't disagree with you, but 3 OCs in 3 years sucks, but when you can get, it's because you didn't get the right one. They kept going out and thinking they were, we'll just get this guy. That just doesn't work like that. And if you have a chance
have
to
you
get
been there before with head coaches? Because it took you 3 to get D'Amico, and now it looks like offensive coordinator wise, you might be Slowick and then Caley, and I guess you're going to keep Caley another year, but it wouldn't have surprised anybody if they fire Caley and go with another one. If it would have been McDaniel, I totally agree with you. If it would have been Dable, I would have been great with it. But since those guys aren't available, I'm pretty sure they're going to stick with a guy that, at least from CJ's perspective, he knows now.
Yeah, and at least you get a little continuity. So, well, I think, and as strange as this is, I think that like you said, yes, he'll be here next year. No, he won't be here after that. We do know that they're trying to work out a deal, an extension with Will Anderson Jr. now.
They need to.
Since he's eligible, 100%. And that buys you a year to put CJ Stroud and
I didn't say, by the way, I didn't say no that he doesn't get the extension. It's just you don't do it in the first eligible year, which was the talk. Mulgeta was going to push for $60 million a year early because that's what he does as an agent. Well, what your quarterback did is tell you no one's in a hurry. You can have the discussion the following offseason, and then maybe you do get an extension if you play well, but now it's truly earn it or burn it, period.
Yeah, I I just think he'll be back. I just do.
He'll be back this coming year.
No.
Probably
I think he'll get the extension. I really do. I think he'll get the extension.
You can sign him.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Pick up the whatchamacallit.
The what?
You can pick up the option. I mean, you can give him the option so you can control him for 2 more years without giving him the massive, long-term deal. You can do it for 2 more years.
Oh, what is that called?
It's not the qualifying offer. I know exactly what you're talking about. But what I'm saying is you can give
franchise
him
tag. Thank you, Chris.
There you go. You can give him the tag, but then after the tag, then you have to decide. So you got 2 years to figure it out. Now don't give him any excuses. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I just think he'll ride his rookie season into an extension, no matter what he does after this. I just believe that. Walt said there's enough tape on CJ making inaccurate throws when the OC call great plays and put him in those situations to succeed. But Walt, there's also enough tape on him when he's made some crazy throws that, you can, if you watch the games and listen, the announcers will damn near jerk themselves off like, oh my God, what a throw. CJ Stroud, so accurate, this, that, and the other. I think it's a mixed bag. He's just, if anything, I think we can all agree he's been wildly inconsistent. At times he's looked great.
Troy Aikman, at least credit to Troy Aikman for being honest. I got to run to the bathroom, Barry. So
all right, that's it.
I'm going to take a break. If you're gone, I'm not. Okay.
We're done.
Love
that's
y'all.
it. It's 5:00. It's time. That's Joel Blank, everybody. He got a boo-boo, apparently. I don't know. All right. But no, I don't disagree with you, Walt, in that he's made some really bad throws. But there are times when you're just like, see, that's the guy that we thought he would be. And I think that's the problem, is he's just going to have to get consistent. It doesn't have to be consistently great. Just be consistently good. With that defense, all you have to be, hell, with that defense, all you have to be is average. You just can't be below average and turn the ball over like he did. Just be average. Now, I will say I'd love to see how he plays behind a good offensive line. I just don't know that we'll ever get that. Shut up, Flip. Flip said, good show, Killer BJs. Kiss my ass. Donna, great show, even with Joel making an appearance. Hey, Alec, thank you for resubscribing, man. Alec resubscribed for 29 months. Love you, buddy. Chewy, thank you for keeping that streak alive. 5-stream streak. Let's go, pimp. All right. Joel had to use the bidet. Speaking of, I got to hook up the hot water feed to mine. I'm going to tell you right now. You know how you go wash your hands when it's cold out and you put them under the faucet and you're like, oh, this little water is cold. Now squirt it on your butthole. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. But holy shit, a bidet is not a winter activity. I will tell you that. Tell you that right now. We'll get into it tomorrow. All right, fun show. It was good to be back. Finally. What's up, Uriel? Thank you, buddy. Tell him, TDP, wash your hands, Joel. All right. Don't think CJ is the answer, but front office didn't get him any O-line help. Fair point. Hey, thank you, Joe Pro. Much love, buddy. What did it say? Did I miss the good news you promised at the top of the show? Yeah, Joel's here. That was the good news, jackass. Tony, thank you, buddy. Peace, pew, pew. Thank y'all for the resubs. Thank you for the follows. Wrinkled money. That's dope. Thank you for the hype train and the cheers. And most of all, thank you to you guys for being here, watching, and coming back. More than anything. All right, stay warm, bitches. See y'all tomorrow. In the meantime, do me 3 favors. Thank you, B-Hand, and be safe. Be kind. And most importantly, love each other. See y'all tomorrow. Goodbye. Ah, you jackass. He's like, you said good. No, love you, CC. If I remember right. All right, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye, everybody. Bye, Jet. He's making a YouTube video.